Hello and welcome to the Pink Table Talk. My name is Wandidra Stafford. I am your host today. But first, I want to thank all of you for being on our online guests, for being on the show today. Thank you so much for allowing us to come into your space for these 30 minutes. And of course, we want to thank our amazing pastor at House of Hope Atlanta. Today, we're going to be talking about a fresh start moving forward. We know there are things in life to where we have to rethink everything and say, hey, I need a fresh start. I need to start over. I need to let go of some things, change some things. So today we are talking about a fresh start. And we have two amazing women here today that is going to share with you how, why they felt they needed a fresh start, what they had to do, how to affect their lives, how to have 30 minutes, and this is going to be an amazing show. So make sure you share with everyone you know on your social media platform, and you can text and email it. So make sure you share the show. So today we have with us two amazing women, Yvonne Shelley and Cindy Crawford. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Yvonne is from Montezuma, Georgia. She has 3 kids, and she is a member of the House of Hope Atlanta. Thank you, Yvonne, for being here.
Thank you for having me tonight.
You are so welcome. Thank you for saying yes. Also, we have Cindy Bacinda Crawford. I call her Cindy. She's a good friend of mine, but her name is Bacinda Crawford. She is from Augusta, Georgia. Cindy has 4 or 5 kids. 5 kids?
5.
And as we get into the interview, they're going to share with you what happened in their lives. Again, Cindy, thank you for being here. Thank you for saying yes also.
Thank you for having me.
So you are welcome. So let's get into it because, again, like I said, we only have 30 minutes. So we'll start with you, Yvonne, about what was going on in your life to make you feel like you need to start over, make a fresh start. You need to move forward to better help yourself.
Right. Well, I had been married for 17 years and got divorced. I have 3 amazing kids. Um, and of course, after divorce, you have to start over. It was a very tough process, um, but I made the decision, and after trusting God, it all went well. We all survived it, and didn't kill each other. So that was my fresh start.
And you're here. You made it.
Like,
Okay. Cindy, tell us a little bit about what you were going through to make you feel like you needed a friend.
And up until 2015, even though there was a lot of ups and downs in the department, the toxic environment, 2015 changed my life when the person I was engaged to, a woman ended up dead in his house. And me being in law enforcement, I couldn't understand why I didn't see what was coming, what was transpiring. But that just tampered with my judgment and made me just feel. And then things started happening at the job because the people were finding out the situation and eventually work at a large department. And I left law enforcement for about 3 or 4 months. Then I tried to go back in, which I went on the state side at a college and I worked law enforcement there. But it still was never the same. It was always in the back of my mind what had transpired with the person that I was madly in love with. And so February 12th, 2021, I walked away from law enforcement with no plans. I walked out on faith and just left.
Wow. And you're here.
And I'm here and I'm making.
God. So going back to you, Yvonne, and I'll ask you too also, Cindy, when you're going through something like that, what type of support system you feel you need to have, like when you're going through divorce, especially when you've been married 17 years, you know, he is like family. His family is your family. Y'all, you know, everybody is family, not just you and him. It's a whole bunch of y'all are just family. Now that's going to be cut in a sense, you know. But what is a support system like when you're going through something like that?
Well, you first of all have to be in Christ. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have an amazing prayer life,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so difficult, and as humans, it's just a difficult process. I really wouldn't recommend it for anyone. Um, but you're right. After being married for 17 years, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much all you know.
Yeah.
Um, so the support, again, is having God as the head of making every decision that you make. When you're trying to have conversation, it can go
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the left. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
you always want to stay in prayer. And what I did was I tried to keep the main thing the main thing. My
Mm-hmm.
thing was for everybody to um, go through this battlefield and we still all be intact. Um, and most importantly, that my kids were still healthy, and they were still
Mm-hmm.
happy. I never tried to keep them away from their father.
Mm-hmm.
He was, you have to set that healthy boundary,
Mm-hmm.
um, but you still have to kind of, do things for the kids because you don't ever want them to feel, it's their fault. Um,
What were their
so
ages?
they were in middle school. My two girls were in middle school at that time, and my son had just entered high school. So I thank
Okay.
God that they weren't small kids,
Mm-hmm.
but they
Mm-hmm.
weren't, they weren't on their own. So we still had to decide and still function as a unit. Even though we were divorced, we still had to see each other at the school and, talking, conversating, who's going to pick the kids up, what are we
Mm-hmm.
going to do. So when you're living that, you can't do those, that kind of process in anger. It's
Okay.
very difficult to do. You
Mm-hmm.
can't be mad and oh, woe is me, and why did this happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, as humans, we do ask ourselves those questions.
Yeah.
And no one ever gets into a marriage thinking that this is going to ever happen. But unfortunately at times it does
Yeah.
happen. um so
Mm-hmm.
I thank God for my church family. um have small group with Laria that
Mm-hmm.
helped me tremendously. Listening to my pastor, he
Mm-hmm.
helped me a lot through this. And then my family was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. They had to learn to, you don't take sides. You have to support the unit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's not about whose fault it was,
Yeah.
why y'all divorced. Of course, everybody was
Mm-hmm.
surprised and shocked.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys are getting a divorce. Well, things
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Things
And
happen.
so here we are. So, we decided that we're still young, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we can still live, we're not dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's life. So let's move forward. Let's do what's best for each other. Do what's best
Mm-hmm.
for our kids. And like I said, it was tough, but we
I
made it.
know.
We made it.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I was married 16 years, so I can feel exactly some of the stuff that you probably went through because that's like all you know, and that's
Mhm.
all your family know. That's all your friends know. So as now as you know, we don't know nothing now, but praise God, we made it through. We're moving on forward. and we're making things happen.
All things work together for your good. But here's the part that you have to keep in mind. In order for things to work together, they have to be put together. So don't be thrown off when you find good and bad in one season, because it still can work together.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time shero to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our shero, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Guys, today we have a bone-in pork shoulder. And look, we're gonna be cooking that in our Instapot. So you guys got your Instapots ready? Let's cook.
Cindy, for what you've gone through, leaving your job, stepping out on faith, leaving a relationship in those conditions that you were in, what was your support system like? Or do you suggest, if a person's going through what you've gone through, having to leave their job for so many years because of something detrimental like that, what type of support system do you feel they would need to have?
They would need to open up to mental health. That's the first thing. As traumatic as it was, I know in the African American community or the brown people, we don't believe in mental health. And that was one of the strongest things that I went through. I picked up the phone, I called behavior health. I went in, I answered the questions on making the decision not to commit suicide through all the embarrassment and everybody I had to face based on what was going on. Because it was all over the news. It was everywhere. I found myself sitting around in a group of 10 people where we had to have group therapy. I had to find a safe person who were my best friends that I spoke to. I had to be very open and allow the healing to come in. And a lot of prayer and learning how to meditate as well. Because I know with prayer, we're asking, with meditation, we're receiving. So I had to accept that and bring that into my life. And then I started surrounding myself with new people in my life who taught me from living in that fear to having faith. Because there's no way God was going to allow you to go through this if He didn't already have a path for you to recover. And I went through the coaching. I joined the coaching community. So I had to have that community, just removing myself from being codependent and controlling people by giving, and just allow people to feed into me and know that allow that process to happen and open up, even if it's in a group, which being in law enforcement, that's the last thing they want to do. But I had to stop thinking my old way because I wasn't going to move forward if I continued to think that way. And so allow God to allow people to come in my life that will guide me to where I'm at. Because I feel as though I am stronger, and things that used to stress me out, I take that negativity and turn and pull all the positive out. It could be simple things like this incident happened, but what's the part of what happened in that incident? And I move forward that way.
Good. Thank you. I know when you're bringing up, the past and what made you have to start over, it can kind of, it's gonna bring back stuff. It's gonna make you a little emotional, and then at a point you start like, how did I do that? How did I even go through that? How did I let that go on for so long? So you start, in some situations you find yourself at fault, about the whole thing. So if that was your your thing, your situation, how did you go about forgiving yourself? And then also, if it was the other person's issue, or you should have been left, or you want to step out on entrepreneurship, and you should have been did that. How do you either forgive yourself for not moving forward, or forgive that person for being the one to put you in that place? So, Yvonne, we'll start with you.
I say you start off by loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
By forgiving yourself for
Mm-hmm.
um the things that were your fault, because it's I think
Mm-hmm.
it's easy
Mm-hmm.
for us to blame other people for
Yeah.
things. So what I had
Mm-hmm.
to do, I had to just sit back and assess the situation,
Mm-hmm.
and ask God, what is it in this situation that you want me to learn? What is in this for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you look at it from a growth um level, and from you maturing, and I think that I'm an optimist, so I always want to look at it from the bright side. What is it that I can do better? Because it is something that we learn out of, even out of our painful situations.
Mm-hmm.
So I just was asking God, what is it in this that you want for me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cindy, what about you? How did you go
Um,
about forgiving yourself, forgiving the other person, forgiving yourself for waiting too long? How did you go about that? And are you still going through that?
it's still a process.
Mm-hmm.
But the easy part is really forgiving someone else. I have no problem forgiving
Mm-hmm.
them and letting it go. My issue is forgiving myself. I'm very hard on myself. Why did I stay in this relationship for over 10 years and not move forward, and we hadn't gotten married? Why did I stay at the department for over 23 years? That one that was so toxic, turn around and go back into another department, which was just as toxic. So why did I stay in law enforcement for 28 and a half years? I had so much knowledge. I had to forgive him, and through the healing, I had to get a better understanding on it was, what he was going through is what he was going through, and who he was had nothing to do with who I was. And it was very, very hard to accept that I could not see it, especially being what happened, why I could not figure this person out when everybody around me could see the evilness that was coming out of him.
Mm-hmm.
So, bottom line, to completely, people had kept telling me to write my story, write my story, write my story. And something propelled in the news that became a TV show pushed me to make that decision to write my story. So, yes, I have a book that is coming out that's going to process from day one all the way to the trial, and to put this out for people to understand how I went through the process and how I'm still sitting here. Because through this, I finished my college, got my master's degree. I am now a professor. I pushed through that. I'm a personal trainer. I pushed through that. I'm a nutritionist. I pushed through that. I just kept going and educating myself and bettering myself. This author was one of the biggest accomplishments, and I just can't wait to put that out to help other people. So that was my process and my healing, to walk through that with this company to get that out.
Okay. Good. 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 That was some
And I
some
think
really great advice.
we've talked about that in our small groups. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
how when you have dealt with disappointments on our level, how the devil really wants you to isolate yourself, because he
Mm-hmm.
just wants to, it's just you. He's gonna tell you these lies, and but that's the worst thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you want to get to counseling, you want to get to people who've gone through the same things that you've gone through, that know how to navigate through these things. and you want to get with your church group, some people that you trust and can help you through the process. Again, so that you're not bitter, so that you
And
and so yeah.
my struggle was I was heavily into the church. It's just my ex fiance was a pastor, and that has really messed me up to get back. So I physically haven't gone back into church, but I am. But I had that. I believe in faith, so it was the fear, even the congregation who all knew what was going on, and it was difficult to trust. And so, but then the pandemic hit, so we were out of church anyways. But it's not going to keep me away. That was one of my fears.
For Friends in the Book podcast, reading and reviewing the conversation by Hill Harper. If you have any relationship to be married, I think it is a must that you have a conversation.
I think too, he talked about in the book being honest in your communication. Say a woman might be insecure about how she's looking, and instead of being honest with that about her partner, she'll say like, "Does this dress make me look fat?" And I think both men and women need to tap into how they're really feeling about something and be able to have that vulnerability and be comfortable. And like Chris said, have that environment where you can be honest.
You budget. You pay bills.
Yet somehow, women like you, like me,
Are 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to save ourselves by setting a goal to save 2% more of our income in retirement.
Why 2?
1% honors you.
And 1% honors all womankind.
So come on. Learn more about the 2% challenge at WeSaySaveIt.org.
Night of fire.
I need some balloons right now because you just signed. That is amazing. Can you share with us that experience?
God's major assignment is people, not platforms. A lot of times, God will release us, and He'll even release us to the nations, but because the platform doesn't matter. But God say, no, I released you to a people. If there are people in front of you, you've been doing it. You've been answering the call. Don't allow the level or either the size of the platform to cause you to misinterpret what God has already done.
We're ready for what God wants. God, we are lost in darkness.
It's just funny because like all three of us have basically experienced some of the same thing, and it's all about women growing, going through things. My next question was going to be, what advice would you give to someone? So you guys have already answered that. Make sure you don't isolate yourself. You don't get in this pity party because you're really destroying yourself. Get with those people who you trust, people who just not around you just to be nosy and want to know what happened and all of that. Even if you have to go find a new group, you do what you have to do in church. Find your small groups, find that group of women, find those support group, get your counseling, do what it is that you have to do because it's not easy. I used to hear them say divorce is like a death. I've experienced it. It is. Especially when you've been married for that long. It is like a death. I didn't have kids, so I didn't go through the children part of it, but I can imagine what that would have been like if I were kids. So I really do feel what you were going through, Yvonne. Cindy, I feel what you're going through because I was there and I've experienced a little bit, sharing that with you. So I just thank God that, we are all here and that we all were strong enough to make that fresh start and to move forward, because you have some people who are not as strong and they're still stuck in it. Some commit suicide, some have their devices, alcohol, drugs, that He gave us the strength, or that we was obedient to do what we needed to do to get through
Yes.
it. So is there anything else you want to add to your journey that you really feel that the audience, our online guests, need to hear? Because this is going on every day. I mean, and it's not even just with relationships. It's with you need a new career. You need a new environment. You need a new group of friends. You need to move out that house. That house is bringing you memories. So is there anything you want to tell anyone of, just do it. You know, you got to make that move or you may just stay stuck. So is there anything else you want to say to our online guests?
Yes. Where you're sitting now, it's been that thought process that you've been doing year after year. You're going to have to change that. It's almost like doing the opposite. And you'll watch where the strength. I used to care what people thought or what people was going to say about this and that. I don't anymore. I do what itself because the healthier me brings and attract the healthier people around me. I do say affirmations. I think positive. I do meditate now, which is something new. And I've been doing for over a year or so now. But I had to stop thinking the old way or settling or making the same decision because they said it's insanity doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to get the same results. So get out of that thought process when you get ready to make that decision. And if it's the same thing you normally do in that same situation, go a different way. Step out. Make that challenge. I never thought that I would not work for a company. Simple stuff as insurance. I have insurance outside of being with a company. I'm divorced and I had to step out. I ended up divorcing my husband with a newborn baby. And I had to say, I can do this. And I raised the 5 children. And the biggest, I understand I could not keep them from their father so that they can grow and be healthy. Because the worst thing women do is they use the kid. That child loves their father as much as they love you. And any hate you put towards their father, they're going to internalize it that you hate them as well. So keep that open. Him and I didn't work out, but that doesn't say anything about the child. So if I show that support for that child, or for the husband or my ex-husband or the father, that builds that child to know that they are loved just how you treat that other person. Because that person, they're going to make sure that child is okay.
What about you, Yvonne?
Right. I agree with you. I think that, you have to just keep moving forward. The worst thing you can do is stop. We're,
Yes.
like I said, we're human. It's traumatizing. There were days I never wanted to get out of bed. I cried all night. Um, but I looked at those kids and I say, they need their mom to be present. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I have to be present, if not for myself, for them. And I
Yep.
thank God that I had them because they were my catalyst to get me moving again. I lived for them. I'm like, okay, I want you go through this death, through this divorce. You can
Mm-hmm.
still be happy and healthy and successful.
Mm-hmm.
You're worthy, you're important
Mm-hmm.
to God.
Mm-hmm.
So keep moving, never give up, never give up. It's not our demise. It could be need to push us into our newness. And
Right.
so we never want to just stop and give up. God is just redirecting us into another space. And so for me, I'm excited. I'm not still not dating again. It's been 10 years.
Me
Still
either.
trying to help these kids move along and but I'm open. So I think if I
Mm-hmm.
met the right person and things
Mm-hmm.
fell into place, I would definitely be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
But things definitely have to be a certain way for me. But yeah, you just don't stop. Don't endure these disappointments that life is, sometimes give us.
Yes.
Keep going, keep moving, keep loving. Um, keep loving yourself. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to sit in the house and mope. I'm going to first love God. So I love you because you love me unconditionally. Um,
Yes.
and then I loved on my children. I loved my family, my mom. And then yesterday, I loved me. I took myself to the store and bought me some things that I like. I bought me some
Yes.
flowers.
Yes.
I watched some movies that I like to watch. So I didn't make
Yes.
it be a pity party. It just wasn't a pity day for me. I decided
Yeah.
that I was gonna be happy, that I'm gonna not focus on the bad, that I'm gonna look
Mm-hmm.
forward to what God has for me. And I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, God, whatever it is that you have for me, I want to be ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
right.
so whatever I need to do to show me what it is. Show me what it
Mm-hmm.
is, because I want to be ready this time. I don't want to get into a
Yes.
like not that I got into the last relationship to go through the divorce, but what it is
Mm-hmm.
that you want me to learn through this
Right.
process that I can be a better person. Not to
Mm-hmm.
say that I was a bad person, but I did make some mistakes as well. But what is
Yeah.
it that I
Mm-hmm.
need to learn to grow me and to be a
Mm-hmm. Right.
better me? So I think that's how you have to look at it. When you're starting over, it's hard, but
Mm-hmm.
we're built for hard things. Our parents did
That's
hard
right.
things.
That is right.
So we're built, we're ready for it.
Right.
So I'm just looking forward to a bright future. There's nothing to
Yes.
be it's a bright future for all of us. So,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Exactly. Exactly. Well,
I like
ladies,
that. Never stop.
I
Yes.
know. I know. So that might have to be our next show. What did we learn about ourselves going through things like that? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's not always somebody else's fault. You know what I'm saying? We may have
Right.
contributed to some things too, and we have to take ownership for that. So
Yes.
I learned a lot about myself on maybe why I got a divorce, maybe why my marriage didn't last as long. So that's gonna be the next show. What do we learn about ourselves?
right,
And we got to be
right,
ready to
right,
expose that and talk about it.
right,
So again, like I
right.
said, we only have 30 minutes. So I want to thank you ladies for coming on the show. I'm hoping and praying that you will say yes to the next show. And again, thank you online guests and everybody that's watching. Thank you for letting us come into your space today for the Pink Table Talk. Make sure you share this video. And again, ladies, thank you so much. And everybody have a blessed day. We'll see y'all next
All
time
right.
on the
Thank
Pink
you.
Table Talk.
Thank you.
Night of fire.
I need some balloons right now because you just signed. That is amazing. Can you
Thank you.
share with us that experience?
God's major assignment is people, not platforms. A lot of times, God will release us, and He'll even release us to the nations, but because the platform doesn't match, we think we're waiting. But God say, no, I released you to a people in it. You've been answering the call. Don't allow the level or either the size of the platform to cause you to misinterpret what God has already done.
We're ready for what